Welcome everyone to another awesome FileMaker day. Today is Monday. I'm Richard Carlton. Welcome to FMTrain.tv, where every day is an awesome FileMaker day. Unless your server crashes, then it's not a very good day. But that's pretty rare anymore, we hope. So welcome everyone. I'm Richard Carlton, creator of FMTrain.tv, where we spend a lot of time learning about the FileMaker platform and all the awesome things it does for you. And in the event it crashes, we will teach you how to deal with that too. We've covered that before in previous broadcasts. So today is Monday. We have a very exciting topic today. I have one of my ace hitters here helping me today. Hopefully he is still here. Miles, are you there?
I am here.
Miles, yeah, Miles Debsky is one of our senior engineers, very awesome guy. He can play the piano like it's no one's business. He writes music, he sings, I'm afraid to ask all the things he does. It's pretty amazing. So for those of you wondering today, what are we going to be covering? Well, let's talk a little bit about that. So today's broadcast is always, of course, sponsored by FMTrain.tv, where you can get the greatest FileMaker training at a super amazing price. Visit FMTraining.tv. It's not .com, not .net, it's .tv, as in Tango Victor, or as in television, depending on, if you're ever young enough to have a TV and you turn the little knob and had little rabbit ears on top of your TV. Most of you are too young for that, but some of you old guys will know what I'm talking about. And if the TV didn't work right, you'd have to turn the rabbit ears to get it to come in clearly. It's before the internet, right? If you wanted to send someone a message, it was called the U.S. Postal Service, and you had to have a stamp on the top of it. I know that seems like a very quaint concept for those of you. So the upcoming broadcast, take a look at that real quick. Today is on scripting for beginners and error trapping. Beginners and advanced. So it's kind of an interesting conversation, but that's what today's schedule is. Lastly, I want to remind everyone that the broadcasts are, if you want to support the channel, support what we do, make sure that you have an annual subscription to our FileMaker training. At a minimum, you probably want the video training here, but if you don't even have a full copy of FileMaker and you'd like a free hour of FileMaker coaching, come over here to this bundle right here. If you've bought the bundle and you haven't cashed in on your free hour of FileMaker coaching, you need to do that. I've got some people who try to do the coaching, then they pretend they never got it, and then about once a month they come back trying to milk it. But the idea is to expose you to coaching. You ask questions, we answer it for you in real time, one-on-one. Very cool stuff. A lot of you like the coaching. It's very great. So that is my big unsolicited pitch about supporting the channel if you like what you're seeing. So today's broadcast, we're talking about basically the idea of text file control and creation. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move myself over here. I'm going to flip the button the other way, so I'm reversing myself because we're going to want to see this over on this side. I'm going to put these out of the way for now down here. There are screenshots I took earlier. So this is a sample file that we're going to give you. It's actually already we already kind of covered this to some degree in our video training. It's about file control. It came out in FileMaker 18, the ability to create and write and manage text files. So a lot of you are already aware that we've kind of done this. We've talked about this before a little bit. And the idea is that you can, when we create a preference file, like when you're watching our videos and we keep track of what videos you've watched before, we do that in a text file. We save the data into a text file that we hide on your hard drive. So for example, a common location, like FileMaker makes it easy for us to identify the desktop path of the computer, right? And so I can say insert the desktop path, and it's freaked. Oh, it's got the security dialog going. Hang on one second here. All right, give me 1 second. It's trying to do it, but it can't because, Miles, am I screwing this up? I have to, I'm in no record. Hang on, there we go. Okay, I don't know why I got to no record. Let me just clear this out. So if I insert desktop path, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. Now when I zoom in, the folks on Discord can't see me zooming in because I'm zoomed in pretty good right now. You can't see that, right? Unfortunately. No, sorry about that. All right, so what I can do is I can make the interface just bigger like that. So you should see that a little bit better, right? So if I hit desktop path, this is the path on my computer. Everyone's desktop path is a little different, right? Just because the name of the hard drive or whatever it is. This is the temp path. A temp path is where you stick junky things that the operating system will eventually clean up and remove for you. So the idea is temp is that anything you throw in there may when the FileMaker quits or the computer's restarted, be deleted and destroyed. There's a documents directory path, so that's the desktop, temp path, documents directory. This sample file is already part of your FileMaker training. So if you already purchased our bundle right here, this one here, or either one of these, this sample file's in there. It's called the file control. This is X9. Just do a search for file space control. It should be in there. And you can get that out. And so what's interesting about this is we need to understand the concept, the process of creating a file, creating a text file. So Miles, along the way, are you still there? Yes?
Yeah, still here. Nothing really to add. Just I was going to mention, yeah, it's in our sample files with the training, and I mean, we even used this to help build that actual player and how they get all those. So. Right.
So when you create a file, so it's important to I'll kick out some gum here. So what's important to understand is that when you create a file, so these are the steps over here, so I'm going to use my hand up here. That one right there. Create a FileMaker file. That creates the file, right? It will create a text file on the computer at the path right here, but it's not open. It creates it, it spawns it, it's a completely empty file with nothing in it. Then the next one is to open a data file. FileMaker can open 25 files at one time. When you open a file, FileMaker will assign it a slot, a number between 1 and 25 or 0 and 25, whatever it is. You don't get to choose the number. This screwed up Miles about 6 months ago. And I couldn't figure out why I had this really weird version, the video player early on, like version 17, the video player. It sometimes would update, sometimes it wouldn't. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And what it was is that it's most of the time when you get a command in FileMaker and you specify like open this file and then this is the slot number and you assign a variable into the slot number, we assume that most of the time we tell FileMaker what to do. Well, in the case of opening a FileMaker file, there's a script that says open the file, you assign a variable to it. FileMaker is not taking your instructions. It's going to open the file. It will pick its slot from 1 to 25 on its own and give you that number back. So it's filling in that variable for you. It doesn't allow you to forcibly set it. You could say, oh, I want it to be 1 or 5 or whatever, but it's going to pick whatever slot it wants to open. Normally, if it's the first time you've done it ever, it'll probably start at 1 and work its way sequentially through that list. But just understand that it's a very important topic. So if I create a file on the desktop, so I'm going to say insert desktop path. We're going to call this TK55678. I'm going to call it a text file. So those of you see that right there. I'm going to say create the file. It creates the file right here. There's nothing in this file right now. I double click it, it'll open the text. There's nothing there. The file is not currently open on the computer. If I say open the file, I would have to identify the file and tell it to open it. Now the problem is that when I opened it, I haven't opened it yet, but I have to open it. This number, I don't set this. Like I can set this to, I want it to be number 20 or something, right? But if I say open the file, my guess is that it's going to overwrite that with whatever number it wants. And it did. So now the file is currently open. It's running in the memory of FileMaker Pro. If I scroll over here, is it over here? So you can say update the list of open files. So we could create another file up to 25 files. Once again, this number is set by FileMaker. It's not set by you. Super important. The reason I know that because it's a real easy world to get stuck into. Okay, so that is opening the file, okay? Once you have the file open, you can actually write data into the file, okay? You can say file number 1, okay? And then this is the data we can write that contains, so this is just text right now. Miles, is that what this is? And if I say it's on file number 1, now if I say file number 8 is not open. If I say write to file, we get an error, 100, the file is missing, okay? What if I come over here, I duplicate this file, I call it TK556789, right? And we'll do it that way. So let's do that. So I'm going to copy that, put that there. But we notice that we don't have a file name in here. The way we identify the file we want to write to is by the file number. So if I kind of go over here on the side of this, you can see the open file, say update file list. So 55678.txt is open. It's assigned to slot 1. So I can say write some text into the file that's in slot 1. So I say write to open file. And I get error 0, successful. Now, if I come over here to 55678 and open it, there's the text. And those of you who can't see it, there it is. Pretty awesome. And so you can open the file, close the file. It's pretty straightforward. Now, the point of this broadcast, there's this ability. So let's talk. So now that we know we can open, okay, so that, of course, over here, the other things you can do, I'm just going to cover all the obvious low-hanging fruit. You can verify the file exists. You can read data from the file. You can get the file size. You can rename the size. You can close the file. Okay, you can delete the file. So these are all basic file things you can do. Open it, read, write it, edit it, delete it, rename it, whatever you want to do. Okay. So that's pretty straightforward. I think I've established that this will work. And this file works. Now, what's interesting is that FileMaker in the 18 release also gave us this ability to as you run a script, to have it write an error log into a text file. Since they already had a text file system built in where you could create and edit a text file, right? They had the ability for it to just like verbally verbose, like it's like I talk too much. Richard, you're too verbose. You talk too much. Okay, well then turn off my my logging off, right? And so with its ability, if we look right here, it says set error capture. It's not error capture on, it's error logging on. And so if error capture is turned on a script, and this is already on, what will happen is that it will start writing data to a text file. And then, of course, since it's in a text file, we could program our script to go and read it in if we wanted to, whatever we want to do. You could do a lot of things with it. I'm just trying to give you the basic concepts and ideas. So as we write a script, right, we say error capture on. A lot of times we'll say a classic case. These are some things that are in here. I threw in here, but let's just do this. Let's say we're going to enter. A very common one I like to do, I like to write my finds like this, very verbose, because that way when you come back behind them, you know what's going on. So I enter a find mode. Then I set a field, and I can go ahead and I'm going to zoom in on my code here a little bit so you folks can see this. So I can set my field, and it doesn't matter what field it's going to be. I can set like the person who created the record. I can set it to probably, let's just say Fred, okay? And so we have, I have to put it in quotes. That would be really useful. It's a string. Thank you very much. Okay, so we have Fred right there. Then we perform the find, right? And so if I perform the find, and I'm going to use the command slash right here, command on the keyboard and /. I can disable or enable a script so it won't run. So initially this script is going to run, and without the error capture on, it's going to throw a dialog. It'll say, hey, I can't find anything. What are we doing here? Okay, that's the normal situation. Then what you would do is you would turn on the error capture, right? And then you're going to say some sort of if statement, if, right? And then you say if get last error. In this case, I know it's a 401. You could do this a couple different ways. You could check the found set, but if the last error is 401, that means there was a no found set. Fred's not in the system. You could say, you know, show custom dialog, which has its own limits. Error, no matching find. Okay, and Miles, if they have questions that are not off topic, that's great. I really don't want to get an off topic question. So I could say there is no Fred or whatever I could say here, right? We say OK, and then we could say cancel or error or exit the script or something like that. And then the script would obviously continue on down below here doing things, right? And so the idea is that this is normally how we handle it, but what if we want to write an error because we're having a user test it, we're not sure what's happening with them, we want them to write this error message out. So we could say error capture on. I'm going to save the change here, but I'm going to run this script step first. So I'm going to run this script first to turn on error logging. It will remember it is on. Okay, that's step one. Then I'm going to run this script right here, and the error capture has to be, and I'm going to run this. And what's going to happen, it's going to fail, and it's going to show me nothing found. But more importantly, oh, and then did I write exit application, not exit script? Thank you, Ed. That was brilliant. This demonstrator person just blew it. What I want to do is go down here to users. I want to go to documents. So I'm going to go back to Command or Control Shift S for script workspace. I lost my thing in here. Error capture on. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the error logging on. Make sure it's on right here. Miles, are you good? I hear you.
Yeah, we got a good little question. The set error logging on, is that for the whole session or just for the script that's running?
Before, when I ran this test an hour ago, I don't use this too often, but people asked about this, so we'd build a demo. But it remembered it previously, but just now it didn't write it. But then I also exited the application, and it might not have finished the writing process before it exited. I mean, that's where you get into like subtleties of things that, fine finesse timing of FileMaker. You shouldn't normally have to worry about it, but normally you would just exit the script, and then your script would continue on here. So I'm going to go ahead and try this again. We quit FileMaker. Did we just quit FileMaker, or did we? Yeah. So let me try this again. So I'm going to play this script and say OK, and then it exits. And so the question is, do we have a file over here in our computer? And if I close that out, I go back down here. It should in documents. Script errors log right here. In fact, it got the first one. So there's the first one it wrote. And it's in this, it's in the console, but if you open it up, open with text editor or something else, you want to stretch it out so you can see it in rows. So there you go. So I don't know if you folks can see that. I can kind of zoom in on it a little bit, but there it is. So it says on this date and time, on this file, the admin, which was my account name, ran this script right here and got this error message. It actually gives you the line number where the error is, that's the error number, but it gives you the line, the command that fails, and the line it failed at. And so if you come over here, it says line 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's, oh no, okay. That's the problem with when you're using the Monkey Bread plugin. You have to go back to normal mode because the lines don't match up, right? So I'm going to press this over here where it matches back. Is that it? Nope. Now it's all screwed up. How do I? There we go. That's it. So now it all lines up. So 7, the perform fine is where it had that error. Okay. So I moved it here from here to here. So you could actually have someone running this all the time. So it doesn't, once you turn on the the error logging on, it's on for that session of that person's computer. You don't have to call it at every script. Okay, very important. Yeah, it's very nice that they log the log numbers. That's really great. Yeah, I kind of like that. It's very neat, slick. So this is a kind of a capability. Here's the rub. A lot of times, and I was thinking about this, the utility of this is useful, I think, but it's not perfect. And the reason is we write a lot of scripts that we know have errors all the time, and we expect it to be an error. And in fact, error is okay. Like for example, we know that Fred's not there, so Fred's not there. Or like we do a search for Fred, right? And if Fred's not there, then we know that Andre, since Fred didn't write a sample file, then Andre's writing a sample file. So one or the other, right? And so it's not an error like a problem. It's just like a way that we make a decision in the software. We run into a wall. It's no, it's false, so we go the other way. But this thing's going to write a log entry on those. So so if you turn this on, you're going to get a lot of telemetry that's like normal oxygen kind of basic stuff that it's, it didn't find Fred. And you're like, well, duh, it didn't find Fred. Fred's not in the off state. We don't care. What you're going to turn this on, though, is you're looking for more subtle other areas where a user is reporting a problem. You could actually turn this logging on or off in that area, like activate at the top of the script that is suspect, and then just triage that. The other thing is, because it created this text file right here, you can come over here with these scripts right here and read it. You could read it. So you could actually run a process, have it write the log file, then come over here and say, open the file, because you know that it's in the documents path, and it has a certain name, right? So if you go insert documents path, and then you go over here to the name of the file, which is right there. I come back over here. The file name is this. You can say open the file. Error code 0. So it's files open. I want to read the data file. So I'm going to come and read file 1, amount in bytes. How about we just read the file? So we just read the file. There it is. So that is the file. So then you could triage it. You could you could delete the evidence of the error and like pretend there was no error, right? Just messing with you. But I mean, what are you going to do with it? What would be your plan for, this is a hammer, this is a screwdriver, this is a tool for you. I'm not telling you how to use your screwdriver or hammer. I'm just telling you, here it is, and it turns to the right, righty-tighty, lefty is loosey, right? Yes? So, Sven, on error capture login is for the whole session. Yes, it's for the whole session. Okay, so the way it works is, I'm going to come back over here. This right here, so I'm going to get rid of it right here, okay? I'm going to say, and I'm going to actually come back over. I'm going to close the file because I want to close data file. I want to close data file. Okay, great. So I close the file, so it's not open. Okay, so the error capture is, if I come over here, this is where the error logging is on. I can turn it off, right? I'm going to save it, and I come over here and save. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to run this script right now. I'm going to run it. So the error logging is off, okay? I'm going to come over here to error logging. I'm actually going to just delete the file. So when it starts working again, the file will show up right there. Yes, we're all good with that? So it's off. I come down here. I run our script. We get our error message. We're done. We come over here. There is no new file. If I turn it on right here, I say on, I save it, I run it, so it ran, okay? And now I come down here. Notice it doesn't say error logging on or off, right? But you have to have the error capture on. If the error capture is not on, it won't work. So you turn on the error capture, we run it, boom. So it's very important to understand that the set error capture on or off is during the live execution of that script sequence. The set error logging on or off is during the session for that user on that until they close the file and log out. So that's important. That's what you thought. You were right, except this is a new feature. Remember, there are two commands over here, right? There's if I say error over here, this is the one you're familiar with. There's error capture. This is the one that only is on or off or whatever your setting is. It's only during that script sequence, right? And then it forgets its setting. It normally defaults back to off, right? I think, as a general rule, right? Do I have that right? I think that's right. Miles, don't I have that right? Doesn't it forget? I always turn it on or off I mandate it goes on or off, but I thought it was normally, I'm just having a brain fade here because it's one of those things, you're asking me a question. Yeah, it's off by default, right? Yeah, but if I turn on and then I run another script where I don't specify it, will it be on? Yeah, it's off by default when you run that script sequence, right? But the error logging, once you turn it on, it stays on, right? I think that's how that works. So, yeah.
Yeah, the on is per script. So if you say at the top line 2, it's on, and then if you called a subscript within that same script, then it
would still be, but if the scripts finish and then you start another script with a button, for example, it would start with off, right? It wouldn't be
Correct.
on. Yeah. So it resets to off every time it's what I call a script sequence. So it's important to understand. So it's very misleading. So if a script sequence, a sequence of scripts, so a script is running, maybe a subscript, maybe it's 20 subscripts that run, it takes it 5 minutes to work. That's a sequence. By default, when that sequence executes, it will this command set error capture will be off by default. It will throw error messages up. Once you turn error capture on, that entire sequence, it will stay on until the sequence ends. Once it ends, then that sequence is complete, and if you run it again, it will be right. Like right here. Here we go. So we're going to run it right here. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the error logging, although it doesn't really matter. I'm going to turn this off, save it. I'm going to run it right now, so we know that the error logging is off. It's off. Okay, great. Then I'm going to come over this script over here. I'm just going to comment this out. Actually, I'm going to turn it off for right now. I'm going to make sure it's off. I'm going to save it. I'm going to run it. Okay. So it throws an error message, right? So that means the error capture is off. If I turn it on, I save it, I run it again. You don't get the error. We get our own custom error right here. Now I'm going to delete. I'm going to comment this line out. And save it. Now we're going to run it again. What happens, right? What will happen? Okay. By default, the set error capture always begins a script sequence in the off condition by default. It's a different behavior than that log capability. Once that log is on, it's on, and it stays on for that user during that session until they quit or leave, or until they log out of that FileMaker file. Make sense, everyone? So where does the captured logs reside if the file is hosted? I think they're still locally on the person's, because it's a user log. Okay, okay, stop. Agent Ford, Agent Chevy, you are a bad person, because I don't know if you realize you just led me into a deep, dark hole. So if you're using FileMaker Pro or Go, that log will be on the user's machine. If you're running WebDirect on the server somewhere or nowhere, I don't know. I haven't tried it on WebDirect. That's a good question. But remember, there's no really writing or saving files automatically on the local computer with WebDirect, right? You have that one downloads directory, and every time you do it, you have to approve it that it's going to go in there, right? So we could look it up and see what it says. That's where the help comes in. This is one of those little moments. Today I updated like another 5 videos for the Go WebDirect course. You're going to be getting those. Miles is in charge of that. He should have already done it. I'm sure he's busily approving them. They go to FileMaker Pro Help, and this is one of those moments where he said set error logging. Is that what it is? Error logging. All right, so this is great. So we click on this. So here's where it says works on Pro, works on Go, doesn't work on WebDirect, doesn't work on any of these other ones. Okay, so it's a lot of times they'll say yes, but it'll be like a little apostrophe, right? Like import command works on WebDirect on an Android device, barely, maybe, kind of, right? So you get these little apostrophes, but like here's one right here. To perform this script, oh yeah, you have to have full. To perform the scripts that the user or the script must have full access privileges. Okay. So that means that when you run that script, you have to grant it full access privileges, right? So there you go. So that's a good question right there, because Agent Chevy asked that, but the problem is that I'm thinking in terms of Pro most of the time, because that's where we do our development, our work. Then sometimes we have Go, and then for those of you who are like Nick Hunter, if Nick Hunter was here, he would tell you how great WebDirect is, and then I've kind of got my own opinion of it. I think it sucks. I think it's better than no FileMaker at all. How about that, right? But generally, if my entire success in the world is hanging on WebDirect, then I'm probably going to go out of business, right? I prefer to have Go and Pro as my first 2 steps forward, and then WebDirect for limited sort of applications, right? So yeah, it's basically this idea that the local client is writing a log file. And remember, in WebDirect, there is no local client. You're in a browser. You can't really script to print. You can't write files locally unless it throws like 5 dialogues. Are you sure you want to do this? You're allowed to do it. Are you sure? Give it permission. And then even then, it's still, every time it does it, doesn't remember. Server is server. You know why? Because here's the thing with FileMaker Server. If you run a script with PSOS or SASE and you have errors in it, it's still going to write. There's an error log already in FileMaker Server that does this already. Every time that you run a script that has error messages in it, there's a log in there. That's why when you configure your FileMaker Server, you say limit the log size to 40 megabytes or something, because you can fill those logs up. And then what it does, it flips them, it retires them. I think it preserves them for a period of time. And then it starts writing a new log file. I have to check with Jacob Taylor on that. But yeah, you can fill up a log file pretty fast if you're just throwing stuff at it. So cool. Next question. Netlob says, so as an admin, would you put the file in the database? Would you put the file in a database on quit so you could access it remotely? So as an admin, would you put the file in a database? Oh, okay. So Netlobs was asking. Okay, you wrote that. I'm reading through what you said here, but I think yeah. So what you could do is the whole idea is that the thing writes telemetry, and then you go back and investigate what it does. Now you can investigate it by going to the user's computer and digging on their computer and digging this out, or you could write a script that's going to import it. Once you import it, what are you going to do with it, right? Like if they knowingly have a problem, and there's this like really problem section of your application, it's always having a problem, you could put this in there where you could write a script. So what you could do is I would tell it to going back to our little file, wherever our little file went, I would say delete the old one, because you can tell this delete command works on a lot of stuff. You can delete Word files, you can delete all sorts of stuff, right? Delete the old script log file. Then tell error capture logging on, run the process, the user freaks out, has a problem, that it ends, and at some point where you know it ends, then you could go in, you could open it and read the data in, or you could actually go and run an import command and import it into a container. You could actually do it 3 or 4 different ways, but the point is, you could, as the cleanup process, this person is ending this process where you know there was a problem, you could suck the data in. You could even theoretically read the error log and take action based upon what you found inside. But remember, this is a written log of what you've already experienced in your code. So if you wrote your code and you did error trapping along the way, you've already remediate most of this stuff, right? But if you, that's why I've never used it, right? You'd have to have a situation where you have a bunch of code and it's doing this stuff, and you have to kind of triage it kind of after the fact, right? Kind of see what happened after the fact, right? It's like when the acid in the rocket blows up or something happens, unfortunately. Hopefully no one's on the rocket, blows up, and they say, lock the room, shut off the cell phones, we have to preserve all the data. And they're like, lock the rooms and everything. So all the mission controllers are saving and saving and saving all the telemetry data. So then the accident investigators, NASA, they have their own, but like NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board, they get in there, they look at the telemetry and they go, yeah, here's the evidence. So it's like the flight log, the flight black box on a plane, right? Right. So maybe you only open it after everyone dies in a horrible crash. I don't know. Would be useful to turn on if the user has an issue. Yeah, exactly. That's the whole idea. You turn it on. The question's in there collecting data, and then you pull it off, right? And you could see what was going on because you'd be getting all the telemetry. Some of it would be useful. Some of it would be nonsensical. You don't need to know about it. But it gives you the script and the line number and the error, which is really great. Really great. I mean, in an ideal world, if you really had like a base elements, like if they could build this in, it would read the file, right? And then it would walk you through the code, and you see it bouncing through the code, and it would say, then it got here and it stopped, and this was the error message, right? That would be awesome. That would be truly stupendous. I would love to be able to visually, yeah. I mean, I think the tools for FileMaker are going to get better, especially with some of the stuff they're doing, so this is great. Is the data file available in the operating system console? It's a text file that's on the operating system. So if you have permissions to get to the file, you can get to it, right? The answer, I think, is yes. Could it be used to turn on if the user is having issues debug? Yeah. That's the whole idea. Bilbo, which are usually the commands it causes. If you're just learning about doing errors and things and whatnot, the most common things you need to trap for are if you say go to related record is a very common one that will fail. Like if you're on, let's like step away from that for a second. Let's just take a look at I'm going to flip back over here the other way. Okay, 1, 2, 3, whoop. I'm on the other side of the screen. This is really awesome. So if I come over here, a little bit bigger, I come over here to my demo files. I come over here to like a FM starting point here. Hopefully it'll open. Yep, here it goes. And so say you're on a person here and you want to see this invoice. So if I press this, it's going to go to the related records, the GTRR command. Those you really have to test to see that if they're going to fail, what's going on with that. So as an example, if I watch the script debugger right here. I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to put this over here in front of my face, and then I'm going to run this same command. I'm going to jump over here. I'm going to say, let's take a look at this invoice from this person. It's going to say, hey, I want to go to this invoice, right? And so it's going to say, allow user abort off. We don't want the user abort. Say error capture on. It does a check to see if it's on a touch device or anything else. It's going to come down here. It's going to say, do I have a modifier key open? Don't worry about it. That's a different thing. But right here, there's two go to related record commands. And so you say go to related record, right? And what you want to do generally after you run a go to related record command is do an error check. Now in this case, it's we've landed on this screen here. We've run a trigger. It's kind of a very advanced, not a great demo here for you to see this. But the idea is that whenever you do a go to related record, you need to check on the other end of that, especially if anything happens after that. In that case, it's funny. I've run into this problem before on live streams. We don't do a check on that, and there's a reason, because if it doesn't work, you just stay right here. But a lot of times people will go to a related record. They assume it worked, and there's action that happens after it. In our case, either it shows it or it doesn't, right? Like if I come over here and I'm trying to click on this and it doesn't go anywhere, that's because there's no related record. I don't have to throw an error message. But if your command was go to related record, like if you had a little red X here, it says delete this invoice from here, okay? And you said go to related record, but it fails. And then you run the delete command, it's going to delete this contact, right? Because the go to related record failed to go there. So it's like you were trying to go on a trip, a family vacation. You got in the car, but the car wouldn't start, so everyone got out of the car. And then, of course, if the next step was have lunch, then you would be having lunch in your car, in your driveway. You never left your apartment or your house, okay? You never went anywhere, right? Because the car wouldn't start. That's what a go-to related record is. Like the car doesn't start, it won't go there. Now, why doesn't it go there? There's the relationship doesn't work, but that's a very common one. In fact, that has been tested on certification tests before, where they say, well, if the go to related record command doesn't happen, what's likely? And then there's a delete and a find and some other stuff. They try to confuse you, but the problem is that if you do things after that and you assumed that you were on vacation, right? Like say, for example, you pack your clothes, you're going to Hawaii, you're only wearing a swimsuit. And you're in Wisconsin. Winter's coming. It's going to get cold. You go out into your car, GTRR to Hawaii. We're going on vacation. And all we packed is swimsuits. Step 1, go to Hawaii. Step 2, put on swimsuit. If you don't air check to see you actually got to Hawaii, it's try to go to Hawaii. Failed. Couldn't get to Hawaii. The airline is not flying. Okay. Next step 2, put on swimsuits. So now you're in Wisconsin. You put on a swimsuit, right? And it's 20 degrees outside, right? So that would suck. Okay, so Bilbo asked me a question. What's the difference between get last error and the base elements get last error? I don't do enough base elements work to answer that question. I don't have Nick Orr here. Nick Orr has done some broadcasts with us before, about a month ago. But if you're asking me how his command on his product is different, it's his product. I don't know. Anyone know the answer to that question? Biles just posted a list of the error commands right here on Discord. I'm going to go back over here to Discord real quick. I'm going to pop over here.
I think the quick, maybe little answer on the base elements is I believe that's the last error that the plugin did. So if you're doing something that's not specific to the plugin, that error is not going to.
Oh, that's true too. I hadn't thought of that. Yes, correct. Yep. You can error trap for every stinking little thing in a FileMaker file, but there's the common things that your users have to deal with, and then some things, even if it errors, you don't really worry about it, right? Obviously, if you're doing a find command, a go to related record command, like for example, if for example, this is a classic. So if you come over here, you see it's hard for me. I'm gonna zoom in for those of you people who are not on Discord. But if you look right here, this is the player app prefs. These are text files that I create when you watch the video player. Okay, and so what ends up happening is that if I try to open these up with a command like that sample file you saw, these are the videos that I've watched, and this is where the notes are, this is the name of the file, etc., the path, but these are the videos. If I attempt to open this file and the file won't open, right, then that would be an error situation you want to trap for. You just can't try to open the file, then just assume it's fine and keep going, or that kind of stuff. So there's obvious things where you really need to know whether it failed and it was successful, or it failed or it was successful. Wait, one or the other, right? Very important. Some things like if you run a print command and if you run a print command in FileMaker and the user cancels the print command, I don't know if that generates an error or not, but I would never trap for that because the user deliberately canceled the print command, right? And so it'd be like I want to print this form, and then it comes up, and then you're trying to select the printer, and the user realizes, oh, I've got the wrong printer. Cancel, they cancel, and then you do an error capture, and you throw up, hey, the user has canceled your error message. Like, no kidding, I just pressed the cancel. So obviously, you could trap for things that are of no practical knowledge or use to your end user, right? So that's my thought. Error 2 or user canceled, right? Exactly. So there you go. So are you going to throw that? So the user cancels something, Benedict, and then you're going to say, oh, by the way, you just canceled that, accept or deny. Do you like it or not, right? So it could get really out of hand real fast. Too bad it can't log stupid user errors. That would be really valuable, right? It's that whole ID10T thing, the error code that you guys see sometimes, ID10T. If you just write that out, you'll see what I'm talking about. But you run into that, right? But part of it is if you build FileMaker applications, why are we here? Why am I here? Why are you here? Some of you are lost. You found that you were thinking this was a review channel for the latest games. This is actually where we build great FileMaker applications, and we all learn from each other how to make better applications. The world needs you to make great FileMaker applications. And part of it is assuming that some of the users are just going to get confused. Or I could tell you that I've got a couple staff that will have a couple too many drinks on a Friday, and then they start texting me, right? And I've had to caution them that probably being drunk and texting the boss is not the best way of getting his attention, right? I had a family member that used to do that years ago. And so some errors are because people aren't brilliant. Some of them because they're impaired. Some of them are driving and texting you. I mean, think of all the bad behavior that people do. They drive and text. They probably try to use FileMaker Go and drive at the same time, right? Driving on your wheel, and you're trying to text at the same time. Oh, yeah. And then if they get an error message, So you need to think about making an application that's so simple, so straightforward, that it handles dumb input gracefully. Would be great. That's important, right? Assume that some things... you've got users, like the idea users are walking down, if you test an iPad or a mobile application and you pull up the mobile device, I'm going to grab my camera, you put it down on your desktop. So here's on your desk, here's your desk, right? And you're pressing the buttons and look, the mobile device is great. How many people put the mobile device down their desk and they just use it that way? About half the people are walking down the street to Starbucks getting a coffee, pressing the button. So then they're jiggling and moving and they're trying to hit the button. So you have to think about all these things and look at these and test for them objectively. It's really important. If you have any sample files you want us to show this coming Friday, feel free to shoot me an email at support@rcconsulting. Attach your sample file. Let me know why it's great and what we can do with it, and let me know that it's okay for me to show the rest of the people with that. Okay? I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected. The quarterback, great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Try to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap, stands in, throws it left for Amendola, reaches up and snaps a high throw and lands inside the 10, rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.